Hey guys, how's it going? And happy Friday. I hope all of you are doing good. Well, if you read the title of this live stream, it's not good here in Michigan. Things are not going so well for the Second Amendment in these United States of America. We're getting hit on the federal level. We're also getting hit on the state level in Michigan and many other places. And if you think it's a coincidence, you might want to pay attention because this is coordinated. The rest of the world, because look, this isn't just the United States. This is a global phenomenon. The rest of the world doesn't have the Second Amendment. The rest of the world has been taken over for about a century now in many places by communists, fascists, oligarchs. The Reich in Germany that was supposed to last 1,000 years, but it didn't last 1,000 years. And the Berlin Wall fell because of the United States of America, because of a country where there's more guns in it than people, where a country was created as a republic, if you can keep it. That's what Ben Franklin said. To where a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, the Founding Fathers didn't give you the right to keep and bear arms. If you read the Declaration of Independence, and I suggest you do, I suggest you read it often because it's a beautiful document written by Thomas Jefferson with the help of other very smart men. It says, these are the laws of nature and of nature's God. All men are created equal, and they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that's what makes the United States of America different than other countries. And that's why we've enshrined protection for the natural right to keep and bear arms, not granted by government, but a mandate against government that it shall not be infringed. Now, the Second Amendment is the second time, and I shouldn't have to say this, but I have to, and you guys need to remind all of your friends of this because, look, if we lose the Second Amendment and we lose these United States of America, nobody is ever going to come save us from anywhere else. We're the ones that have had to go with our guns and save the rest of the world from all of this tyranny. Meanwhile, not taking care of our own backyard, we find ourselves in a plight where it's hard to vote your way out of it. Certainly no other countries are coming to our aid, where your federal government hates you, and in many cases, it seems like your state government hates you to more or less extent, depending what state you're in. Some states are protecting more than others. Other states are destroying more than others. But the Second Amendment in the United States of America is under attack by the whole rest of the world. Literally, we look at all of these different agendas, Agenda 2030. We look at the WHO talking how they could come in and take control during certain declared emergencies and come after guns. We have the UN Small Arms Treaty that the current former vice president has signed on to. Just keep that in mind. If it weren't for the delicate balance in the Senate, that would be the law of the land in the United States of America, that the United Nations would rule over your free exercise of your natural right to keep and bear arms. It's also under attack from the federal government, the current former vice president. And what are we going to call her today? What's she call herself today, guys? Kamala? Look. It's hard to even take somebody seriously that doesn't even know how to pronounce their own name, and I assure you she doesn't if you look back at past footage of her saying it herself. But these people are serious, and they're dead serious, and we just had executive orders signed in, not into law, but who needs laws anymore when you have these people just doing whatever they want? Second Amendment also took a blow in my home state of Michigan. And as the title says, Mao Cultural Revolution style gun control passes in Michigan. And this is literally what this is. I'm going to talk about the Michigan stuff first because there's a lot to this. there's like the 10-second hurry up and get really pissed off. And trust me, I've spent 10 seconds in the last couple days really pissed off. But then to actually truly understand what happened here in Michigan, and I hope you guys are all paying attention in all of these other states. Like, this is kind of specific to Michigan, but actually not at all. First of all, Michigan's a state in your country if you're an American. And also, this is the strategy that's interconnected from the other side. People that hate America. That's what I was talking about earlier. We're going to have to protect and defend our own country, because when so many people in power in your own country hate you, it kind of makes you feel like you're in a grim situation, and your inclination's correct, because we actually are. But, you get real mad about it. That's fine with me. I'm mad anytime any type of gun control passes, no matter what it is. But I want to talk about how we got here and how this recent gun control did pass in Michigan. The ramifications of it, things that I'm worried about. And then this is like the less fun part, but look, I don't like to just sit and complain on the internet. Like, I really don't. I'd much rather just talk about how everything's fine. There's zero gun control in Michigan, and there's zero gun control anywhere in the whole country. And like, I would love to just be outside, like looking at it, enjoying, and like smelling flowers. Because I don't know if you guys have been watching the stream very long, but I've talked about that before. I will enjoy when I'm mowing lawns, looking at flowers. I really do. I like how they smell. I like how they look. And there's just something intrinsically beautiful about them. And I want to be able to keep enjoying that. But unfortunately, I can't just sit back and just complain on the internet. We need solutions to some of these things. So we're going to talk about how this, and I'm going to call it what it is. I'm not pulling any punches on anybody tonight. This catastrophe that happened, where every Democrat in the Michigan House was involved. And unfortunately, and I truly mean this, it's very unfortunate, almost all, the vast majority thereof, the Michigan Republicans in the Michigan House of Representatives, as well as 3 in the Senate, but the Senate was closer to being party lines, passed this, let it slip through, didn't understand, thought it was a good trade-off, was misled a little bit. See, there's actually a lot to this, and I've been on the phone with representatives, my senator, as well as many other people, really smart people actually, trying to figure out the root of what happened, why it happened, and then also how we can hopefully fix this and correct it. Because I'm going to give you a little bit of a white pill here. There is a chance, probably even a decent chance, this could be fixed, and I have some ideas, and I want you guys to opine on this as well. I'm going to read what happened here, and it's going to tie into actually what we were talking about just recently when I had a thought-provoking super chat, and we got into the whole Firearms Owners Protection Act of 1986 and how it was like a pro-Second Amendment bill, and then there was a poison pill put in by Senator Hughes that banned machine guns, intended to make it where nobody would vote for the darn thing, but then somehow, like, everybody still voted for it. President Reagan signed it, and therefore President Ronald Reagan. Just think about that. If you're a Republican, that's compared to his deity sometimes, actually. But banned machine guns. And how we're still living with that ban right now. And unless things can drastically change, maybe and probably we'll be living with that forever. Now, what passed in Michigan, thankfully, and I don't really mean thankfully sincerely, just like, I guess, thankfully it isn't quite as bad as the Reagan machine gun ban. This isn't going to last the rest of your life, but this is a litmus test. And this is something that's they're going to decide what they do in the future based on we the people. So I definitely want to talk about this. But before I do, I don't want to forget to thank all of you guys for the many ways you help support this channel. Thank you for those of you who leave super chats during these live streams. Look, you guys are my sponsors, okay? I'm not on here advertising some manscaper razor thing. I'm not affiliated with those people. You guys are my sponsors, and I will read each and every super chat tonight, and thank you ahead of time, and as I'm reading them, sincerely. Also, thank you for all of you who are supporters on Patreon. Supporters here as YouTube channel members. You guys do get access to some excellent, cool, emojis. You guys can see some of them. You can throw them in there. It's just for fun in the chat. I also make extra posts on Patreon for YouTube channel members, as well as Locals. Locals is a different site, censorship free. I encourage you all to join there. I do a bonus live stream every week where I touch guns while I'm live, do all kinds of content that we just can't do on a YouTube live stream, that we used to do here, but we just can't anymore. I also post daily deals for stuff that can hopefully help you save a ton. You can join for free, or it's a way that you can help support the channel. Also, check out Myriad Social. Now, not only is Myriad Social a censorship-free site, but it's virtually uncensorable since it's on the blockchain, decentralized. They do not have their servers with big tech like Google and Microsoft and places like that. It's kind of a grassroots startup type social media site, and I think it's really cool. And I'm going to give you guys just a teeny bit of bait here why you might want to go over there and check out something pretty cool. We're going to get into this Michigan stuff in 2 seconds, guys. And I'm going to talk about this as long as I need to, because I don't want to just talk about it like on a prima facie basis. I want to talk about the philosophy of this. I want to talk to just like regular people. That would be you guys, and see what we can accomplish here and what we can figure out together, because we need to correct this, because this isn't okay. If I can't get to the Biden-Harris stuff tonight, my intention is to try to do both. I think I'll probably, we'll see how it goes tonight, do maybe a supplemental live stream on here Saturday where I can get into that stuff a little more, because that stuff is also like super, super important. Now, I can't show much of this because we're on YouTube, but this is something you guys probably won't normally see every day. I'm serious. Like, this is a PSA GF3, and it has an active, let's just say the selector works in 3 different locations. Well, the first one would be safe, but the other 2 positions actually work on this particular one. All right, I have to stop right there. That was in 10 times reduced speed, if you know what I mean. The link to Myriad Social is down there in the description. So what you just saw there, right? The speed has been reduced 10 times. And I think you guys know, you might want to go over there and check out that video, because it's really fun. And make sure you check out all of my other sites, including that green site that rhymes with fumble. Also, a quick shout out to RPM. That's Rockville Precision Munitions. They're located in Middle Tennessee. And I'm actually going to have a video with their ammo and other ammo and see if it passes the exploded watermelon test. No, I don't mean shooting a watermelon and making it explode. It's actually like the complete opposite. And I kind of had a catastrophe happen with a whole box full of ammo today. And I'll talk more about that to you guys soon, because I don't even want to go there right now. But RPM, definitely check them out. I'm going to post a post over on Locals after the stream's over, so you guys can check that out. I see a couple super chats I want to read real quick here, and then we're going to read this. This is your section 97H. And we're going to read this. This beauty, we'll call it, of an amendment that was put into a larger package. Richard Denny with the super chat says, let's go, Denny. I'm excited to be here with you guys tonight. I'll be honest with you. I mean, that's the only thing I really know how to be with you guys. I'm not really happy to be doing a stream about this. It actually sucks, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it together, because you guys need to know what's going on, and we do need to talk about things that are very, very important. Richard Denny with another super chat, a super sticker. Thank you. I appreciate the super sticker and for supporting the channel, man. Thank you. And Patrick Fellers, a channel member and a super chat. Thanks, Patrick. He says, said it many times. We got here because of complacency and laziness, comfortable living. behind the sacrifice of patriots to the point of self-destruction. As the old saying goes, you start off with good times, but good times make weak men, don't they, Patrick? Weak men make bad times. But here's the silver lining. Here's something to look forward to. Typically, in the past, hopefully we're heading in the uphill direction again. When you have bad times, it makes strong men, and then strong men make good times. And it seems like we are on the downward slope of that cycle right now in so many ways. I mean, in a lot of ways, but maybe it hasn't gotten bad enough. We'll see. So my YouTube community post, I reference it often. I posted this earlier. I'm not sure how many of you guys saw it. It doesn't have a lot of likes on it, but I think how this works is when people don't like the news that I'm posting, they don't give it a like because they don't like the news that they heard about. And I understand that. But even if you don't like the news I'm talking about tonight, don't forget to leave this stream a thumbs up just because it helps promote it in the algorithm. And I'm not going to sit there and answer everybody's questions about this when I'm going to go over this very comprehensively here. So this is going to serve as a resource for my opinion and thoughts and a lot of information that I've gathered on how this House Bill 5503 with this included amendment came to be, passed the Senate, passed the House, and presumably, I mean, I would say certainly, is going to be signed by the governor of Michigan. Geez, they call her many things, don't they? Family-friendly channel. We'll just say the governor of Michigan for now. So I'm going to read this real quick just to kind of set the stage because some of you guys are like, what's going on? Where are we at? I know. Lots of stuff to keep track of. 2 days ago, draconian Mao Culture Revolution style gun control / family control passed through the Michigan Senate and House. Most Republicans in the House and all Democrats voted for this larger school aid package. It's going to be important when we hash through this. This was part of a larger package, which included partial funding for school resource officers, mental health, etc. There was a poison pill amendment that I have posted here, picture number 2. I'm going to read it in just 1 second. This situation for me is very clear, yet also very complicated on multiple levels. It's true. From the ashes of this disaster, there rises a very important civics lesson, though. A very important lesson on our republic, one that I'm eager to share with you. This morning I received an email from a lady named Heather. Here was my response to her. Now, she had a thoughtful email, and she replied back to my reply. I don't typically share private conversations publicly, so I'm just sharing with what I told her, and here where we are right now. I said, hello. Yes, I know about 5503. I spent 6 hours on the phone yesterday and today. I've spent more than that now, just so you know. Yesterday and today talking to Michigan reps and senators and other people about it. I am 100% shall not be infringed, which I'm sure comes as no surprise to you that I completely disagree with the yes votes. I have lots of thoughts on this. Too much to type in an email. If you're interested in my thoughts and a possible solution to this, you may enjoy my upcoming live stream, which here we are right now. And shout out to everybody who's watching on replay as well. And then I told her, thank you for reaching out to me. I'm encouraged to know that I am not the only one who is disappointed and or angry about this bill passing and the votes that were taken. So to completely understand this, and I'm not trying to get off the topic, this is very important. I want you guys to have a full picture of kind of where all this started. So if you go back to the beginning of the last session, okay, the Democrats took a very narrow 2-seat majority in the Michigan House, a very narrow, equally narrow 2-seat majority in the Michigan Senate, which basically meant that if the Democrats would stand together, they could pass whatever the heck they wanted. Having committees on bills that were little more than a dog and pony show. I remember the time when Dr. John Lott, okay, the premier, literally the premier statistician on firearm stats, what they would call, different crime stats, what the other side likes to call gun violence, but that's the biggest misnomer ever. And I completely reject that premise. He flew in from across the country to testify. I was there. I remember Tom Lambert from Michigan Open Carry, Brendan Boudreau, Great Lakes Gun Rights, my friend Jane Locke, and many others. Didn't let most of us speak. Dr. John Lott, look, this is the foremost expert in the whole country on these exact topics. Okay. He worked in a consulting role, I don't want to use the wrong word, in the Trump administration on these exact topics. You still remember that Chairman Kelly Breen treated him rudely, kicked him out, basically, and said, "You're done. Who cares? Blah, 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 blah." I mean, it was very disrespectful in my opinion and many other people's opinion. Now, you guys have seen the middle of the night live streams I've done here in Michigan. A lot of people from Michigan and across the whole country watch those because you guys had never even seen anything like this. The speaker pro tem with the gavel. One day we were trying to look at her fashion, and it looked like she was wearing a brown burlap sack. You guys remember who I'm talking about? They call her many things too. Some people even call her Lori Pohutsky, gaveling people down, immediate effect votes where there's no vote at all. Okay, just to set the stage, this is how it's been run in Michigan. This is how both chambers of the legislature, the Senate, not nearly as bad. That's why I'm focusing on the House. The Senate is not good, and it's not in good decorum, in my opinion, in many ways either. However, they're still keeping the upper chamber of the Michigan legislature at least with a little bit of decorum, following a few rules, okay? The Michigan House of Representatives, though, when I watch some of these, I don't even know what planet I'm on. Like, literally, it's like, am I in Michigan? Am I in the United States? Is this a bad dream? Would somebody please, like, pinch me so I can wake up? This is literally crazy. And this is an important part of all of this and how this happened. So at a certain point, look, they've done everything to destroy our state as much as possible. On so many issues, we're going to stick to the Second Amendment, though, here tonight. But we have to talk about the larger bill, because there wasn't just a bill that passed the Michigan House and Senate that was just like a gun control bill. In fact, it was kind of hidden in there, and we'll get to that. So there were three major gun control bills that were actually passed last year, signed into law. They went into effect this March, okay? We're talking red flag laws. Yeah, like literally the worst thing you can possibly think of, okay? Universal background checks, basically. Unless you have a CPL, you can no longer do face-to-face transfers anymore in Michigan, and that includes the long guns, like letting your neighbor borrow a shotgun to go hunting. No, that has to all go through the FFL, and you also have to go to the police and get purchase permits that you have to pay extra for, extra background checks, before you can even go get your firearm that you're buying at the gun shop. In some cases, people would pass the background check at the local police station, pay their $10 or whatever, and then go to the FFL and get delayed or even sometimes denied. Yeah, it's this big complicated web, extra bureaucracy, extra paperwork. And then, of course, filling out more 4473s, which the GOA made abundantly clear with a report that they put out over a year ago now, that yes, they are taking the Form 4473s, turning them into a registry. Registration has always, and in my opinion, always will be, leading to gun confiscation, right? So the third major bill. Now, there were tons of bills, but three main subject matters was this so-called safe storage. Talked about this stuff at nauseum. If you're new, welcome, but definitely go back and watch my many videos on this topic last year when this stuff was passing, this year when it took effect. Video with my state representative, Jamie Thompson, McKenzie, the local gun shop owner, talking about how this is affecting everybody. We put out tons of information on this Michigan stuff on this channel, okay? So remember that. This so-called, this is their words, safe storage. Yeah, making it safer for the criminal that comes in there armed with whatever they see fit, because criminals don't follow laws. And as always, these laws only affect the law-abiding, where you could get in trouble potentially. If there's a minor for within the home, gets access to the gun and something bad happens, depending how bad it is, okay, would depend on how much trouble you get in, up to and including a long time in prison, okay? Okay, so this is getting us right to where we are now. There was a school aid package that was put up for vote. Well, there was actually that and 28 other bills that were put up for vote just 2 days ago. This was after the Democrats had called off session for days that turned into weeks after they were supposed to come back. From what I understand, immediately after they rammed all this stuff through, now they're taking session off again. So 29 bills, including a very large school aid package, was all literally put down and said, you have to vote on all of this stuff today. Okay. Now, this school aid package bill was a big deal because if you look back earlier this year, the Democrats, and this was mainly a party line type vote, the Democrats removed $300 million from the state budget that would fall around school aid pertaining to school safety. Now, when we say school safety, we're talking about a couple primary things here. The school resource officer. When I was in school, it was called the liaison officer, right? It's actually kind of funny because we had Sheriff's Deputy Bellino was our school liaison officer, right? And he would work in and around the school and work with students and try to catch you if you were skipping school or doing burnouts or donuts in the parking lot, or if you committed a crime, or maybe you needed help or whatever. Maybe you guys are familiar with this. Maybe some of you guys live in a large school where you have whole squads of officers in your school. I don't know, but we have one. Well, it's a small world because his nephew, many years later, is my current state senator, Joe Bellino, who is one of the guys that I've been talking to the last couple of days about this. So they were going to cut $300 million, including school resource officers or school safety officers. Now, this is a pretty big deal for a lot of voters, okay? A lot of Democrats are saying things nowadays, like, and leftists and whatevers, saying stuff like, we don't want any guns near schools at all. They don't want armed teachers. They don't want armed staff. They don't even want an armed policeman or sheriff's deputy within the school. While generally most Republicans and most conservatives, I'm speaking very generally, meaning when they poll both sides, this is how things poll. Now, some Democrats certainly want a school resource officer and things like that, but there's a lot of Democrats actually that are against this now. So they cut tons of funding. Well, when you poll the average conservative or Republican voter, that's a very, very important issue, is to have school resource officers within that school. And I understand why people want that. I actually could go a couple different ways and nuances of the whole thing, but I want to get a little bit closer to this exact topic. So, and if you guys want to know the language of this, like, I posted it on YouTube many hours ago, okay? We're talking about, like, the actual nuts and bolts of this, how it became, because you have to know that to know how and why things happened. And hopefully let's get a solution, because I want solutions. I don't mind people being angry at people right now. That's fine with me. And I don't have any control of your emotions anyways, so I wouldn't even try. But angry, okay. Now let's try to turn that into solutions, right? Because I'm not happy either. Okay. So they were cutting the school resource officers, which many, and the vast majority, like most, polled conservative Republican voters want this. Also, they were going to be affecting school nurses, mental health professionals within the school. Now, we say stuff all the time, okay? We say stuff all the time like, the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, and that's true, obviously. And that's why a lot of people like a school resource officer. We also say that, look, it's not gun violence because a gun's an inanimate object. It's neither good nor evil. And that's obviously. And we say things like it's a mental health crisis in this country. And I couldn't agree more. So this was a big, big issue when they were cutting, like, medical health professionals, because mental health is health and it's very important. And then school resource officers and things like that. The Democrat majority cut that budget by $300 million. Some big school districts, it was going to affect a little more or less than others. But some of the small school districts were going to have to lay off indefinitely. In other words, get rid of their school resource officer in certain cases. In other cases, like, there's actual districts that this was literally happening to. They had announced, look, when this funding's renewed, we're just going to have to lay off officer friendly or Deputy Smith or whatever the person was that was working within that school. Right? We're going to have to get rid of Counselor Mrs. Smith that might be able to talk that kid from going over the edge. I don't know what a school counselor does, but that's their goal, right? And I know I assume, helped people. I've never actually talked to one before, so I don't know exactly, but I'm sure they help people with mental health issues. So as we're going on here, we're in election season right now. Okay. We're in an election season. And with that being the case, in a lot of these swing districts, Republicans were really starting to beat up on a lot of the Democrats and gaining lots of ground on them, saying, you cut all this funding from school safety? And it wasn't looking so good. Because like I said, a lot of Democrats just literally want every place to be a gun-free criminal empowerment zone. But not all Democrats, and certainly most moderates and what they would call independent, okay? Now, so this was a major issue, and the Democrats were starting to get some egg on their face. Now, this is important. They cut $300 million. Republicans, generally, I think pretty much all the Republicans, I don't want to say all because I never like to generalize, but the vast majority of the Republicans in the legislature have been hammering the Democrats on this, and many constituents and voters and just regular people are saying things like, hey, look, this is BS. I want my child to have, a counselor if they need to talk to somebody. Okay. So here's what they did. They put forth a school aid package. Now, this was one that was in the Senate. It was also in the House, but this is actually called House Bill 5503 CR-1. This is called a conference report. This is where it could pass the Senate more or less a certain way, and it could pass the House more or less a little different way. And then they could get together in conference on the bill, which is different than a floor vote where every senator and every representative votes on every nuance of every little thing, which is actually how it should be. Look, there should have been open public hearings on this where people like me and people like you could have actually gone and testified on this, right? And had time to try to get vocal support to stop this. No, they forgoed that process. And look, I'm not letting the Republicans off the hook, guys. We just have to get to where we are. And I'm not going to let the Democrats off the hook either, because the Democrats are definitely at fault. They're definitely at fault, like they are with almost everything they've done in this state, in this country. A lot of Republicans took a very bad vote, and I'm going to get to that. Okay, so for people that are too impatient, I don't know what to tell you. Just go bang your head on the ground and be miserable and just do it. Do what you do, whatever. But just to say, rah, 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 ugga, lugga, let's go, say mean things on internet and wear out keyboard, does nothing. So don't mistake me trying to be thorough about this for letting anybody off the hook, which I am most assuredly not letting anybody off the hook. Okay, so let's go back. They cut all this money. This goes to conference. I knew they were battling about the money for mental health and school resource officers and other help, even the school nurse, right? Okay. Yeah, we are in a communist revolution. And that's why I said Mao style. It was called a cultural revolution, 1966 to 1970 to 1976. Complete turmoil, social upheaval, complete and utter unrest. Parents getting ratted out by their children, tip lines where you could call on your parents, and I'm going to read this because this is right where we're at. Dragging teachers and principals out in the parking lot to give them beatings and sometimes worse, because they were still trying to remind those children, no, this communist revolution, this Maoism, this is not good. This is the real truth. And they turned the Reds, the children, against their own parents. And against so many of their teachers that were still trying to teach them the ways that China should be, and that how evil this cultural, sometimes called color revolution, It truly was. And one of the important parts of that was to literally rat out your own parents and your own family and your own teachers. And you know what, my man Jeff? Would you please do me a favor and look in the mirror? And maybe you'll realize why we're in the shape we're in. Okay? And I would encourage you guys to go over to the Jeff Grand channel and watch a much better live stream than this, because I'm sure he's much more educated on this. And look, guys, I can barely even pay my freaking bills right now. I'm living in the same crappy economy as all of you. If you saw the vehicles I drove and the way I live, you would know that. But you probably don't know that, because that's a little bit too much effort to actually understand what it is to try to make a change in this damn state or this country. Let me tell you something. I took up to about 7 hours off of work, which I couldn't afford to do, to actually find out all the information about this. And I can see that your keyboard works very, very well, sir. I look forward to watching the video on your channel when I'm done with this, and I will look for it. So thank you. Okay, so there's a school aid package. There's a school aid package that most people are demanding. We need these funding back for mental health. We want the school resource officers. Here's what the Democrats do. They come back and say, all right, we'll give you $125 million back. That's way less than half. It's more like a third. Okay? It's more like a third of what they literally stole and took out of this before. And then they said, but here's the thing, Republicans, if you guys want even less than half of what we took back, you're going to have to make a deal with the devil. I think that's what they thought, because that's how these people think. It's very calculated. So let me read what was packaged in with this school aid budget. All right. Section 97H. From the state school aid fund money appropriated in Section 11, there is allocated an amount not to exceed $1 million. Wow, that's a lot of money. For 2024, 2025 only, to an intermediate district, to partner with the department to create or partner with an existing program and support a tip line for students to anonymously report improperly stored firearms that are accessible to a minor. Whoa. So this is saying that they're going to create a tip hotline, okay, where students will be able to anonymously call in a tip to report improperly stored firearms. Now, these are going to be within the home. These are, in most cases, going to be people's own families. Now, it could be the family of their friend where they're a guest in their house. It could be the neighbor. The department, this is Section 2, the department shall develop educational materials related to improperly stored firearms and how to report improperly stored firearms, and distribute the educational materials to districts and intermediate districts. This is creating a hotline. Or it's partnering with an existing program. Either or doesn't sound good to me at all. But here's the thing. There's already vagueness here. Is this an existing program? Or is this to create, or is it to create a new program? Or is it to partner with an existing program? We don't know, because it says it's this or it's that. But the draconian, Maoist, cultural revolution style, communist style, I want to make this very, very clear. Tip line is very, very clear. $1 million to support a tip line for students to anonymously report improperly stored firearms that are accessible to a minor. And that's terrible enough. Like, cold stop. But it even gets worse than that. The department shall develop educational materials related to improperly stored firearms. Now they're going to start educating your children. They're going to educate their children on what the Democrats, and I hate to say some Republicans, because there was, well, Minority Leader Matt Hall and others that voted for the safe storage bill that became law this year. Okay. But according to the government, primarily Democrats that voted for this bill and its language that passed previously, because this dovetails in to the safe storage bill, right? It's going to indoctrinate and educate them on how a firearm should properly be stored. And also it's going to teach them how to report improperly stored firearms. And it's also going to distribute the educational materials to districts and intermediate districts. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, I taught gun safety to my children. And a properly stored firearm is one that's ready to be used to protect life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? But here's the thing, though, as I continue to read this isn't like your opinion on whether it's properly stored or not. Oh, no, of course not. This is the government that thinks they should know more about how to raise your family than you know how to raise your family. And that has to do with Section 9 of 1927, Public Act 372, MCL 28.429. That's the safe storage law. Okay. That most Republicans voted against, but not all. Some Republicans did vote for that. And that's already law. It says it's used in this section, improperly stored firearms means a firearm that is not stored in accordance with the requirements of, and I read the Public Act. So if your firearms, it's going to educate your children, our children, the state of Michigan's children, and create a tip line or partner, right, with an existing program and support a tip line for students. Now we're going to look at the roll call vote. Okay. Now let me see here. I'm going to show you guys this because this is important. Let me pull this up here. There it is. Okay. Now, here's the roll call vote. This was on House Bill 5503. This was a school aid package. I already gave you the background of it. All the stuff is included. I already told you guys that this larger bill, which had the school funding for the resource officers that a lot of people want. I don't know if you guys want school resource officers or not. I'm just telling you, when it's polled throughout the districts, polls very highly that people want. Mental health professionals. I don't know. I think maybe I saw out of the corner of one of your eyes here and there in the chat that some of you guys don't like those either. Okay, look, I'm not saying whether you guys like them or not. Don't really care right this minute, but I'm just telling you, these are things that many constituents, your fellow people, look, we get the government we deserve, are begging and pleading and demanding. We need more school resource officers. We need more mental health professionals, school nurses, all of these things. So they put this whole school aid bill together, right? Along with 29 other bills, and they have a couple hours to vote on all of them. Now, keep in mind, this was a conference report. And it says right there on the screen that I'm sharing. Report Select Committee, Adoption, Conference Report. So, in certain instances, what you thought might have been in a previous version, or what maybe your colleagues that were involved in the committee, or that maybe had time to read a little bit more of it than you did, whatever the case is, a legislator will get the information that they can, that they read themselves, that was reported on by, I'm not going to say any names specifically because I don't even know who was on this conference report. I really don't. This exact one. There's so much that happened that day. It makes it like super, super blurry. Goes to conference, comes back, and they have to vote on it. So here we are. This had 98 aye votes. This had 11 nay votes. I can see here very obviously every single Democrat voted for this. And most of, I guess if you do the rough math, 3/4, I guess it would be, of the Republicans also voted for this. In fact, you can see in the green were the people that voted. Alicia St. Germain's in white. That's the no vote. From what I was told, and I've not talked to her personally, she couldn't vote because of a family medical emergency, was unable to come to work that day, and that's why she was not there. Steve Carra voted no. Jay DeBoyer voted no. Jim DeSanta voted no. Fox, no. Frisky, no. Phil Green, because there's 2 Greens, no. Maddox, no. Regis, no. Shriver, no. Slay, no. Smith, no. All of the rest of these voted yes. And I do not agree with that yes vote at all. I'm not happy about the yes vote. I don't like the yes vote whatsoever. Not, well, I guess it's okay because, no, none of that at all. I 100%, no qualifiers, no but, no comma, no whatever. I 100% disagree, and I'm frustrated with, and I don't like, and all of the things you could think of, that there was anybody that voted yes on this. And I'm frustrated for each and every one of them that voted yes on this bill. Now, with Democrats, I can get frustrated all I want, and it's kind of just like throwing something into the wind because they vote for everything tyrannical 100% of the time, every time. Republicans, of which I'm not one, by the way. See, here's the problem with this world right now. I catch all kinds of crap because I'm not a Republican. Okay? I catch all kinds of crap because I'm not enthusiastic about any presidential candidate right now that's in this race. Okay? And then I'll catch crap because it's like, oh, this guy's being too easy on this person. This guy's being too easy on that person. No, actually, not at all. Now, again, I could sit there and go, ugga, lugga, ugga, lugga. And maybe that's okay, actually. That's fine. If somebody wants to, like, go pick up big boulders out back and slam them down onto the ground, you don't have the right to vandalize someone else's property. Don't do that. But if it's like your boulder and it's in your backyard and you want to pick it up and throw it on the ground to prove how much you're a man, then go for it. That's actually an excellent thing to do. I've slung like probably 1,000 boulders this year, building boulder walls because I'm a landscaper for a living. That's okay, actually, though. I'm fine with that. You want to call your state rep and say, F you, I won't do what you told me? That's actually fine, too. Now, you make threats, there could be criminal consequences, obviously. I don't recommend that. But if you want to tell them, just you suck and hang up on them, you can actually do that, too, because you're right. It's protected by the First Amendment. If you want to say, I don't like you, that's actually fine, too. Now, here's the thing. I've not talked to all of these reps. I can't even find a Democrat that'll talk to me at all, okay? Some Republicans are willing to talk to me, and I have talked to quite a few of them, actually. So I'm not going to speak to all of these people because I just haven't had time to talk to them. It would take like weeks to look them all up and have in-depth, meaningful conversations. But I've got a little consensus. Some are going to say something along these lines. Some of them are going to say, well, we had 29 bills shoved in front of our face. This bill went to conference, and I had no idea what was in this bill whatsoever. And we can actually find a rep that has a story similar to that. I shouldn't say no, they didn't know what was in it altogether. They didn't know that they had dovetailed in this Mao Cultural Revolution style tip line, a gun control hotline. But I'll pull up my X real quick here and try to find a post from a Michigan representative that falls into one of the categories you might hear. Because this is nuanced. Look, at the end of the day, the broad sweeping thing, one last time, I condemn all of the yes votes on this whole bill. Okay? How I would have voted for the bill? Well, of course I would have voted no because I condemn the yes votes, but that doesn't even matter because I'm not in the House of Representatives, and I'll never vote on bills like this because I never will be. I mean, it matters what I would do. That's why I just told you guys how my vote would have been, but it doesn't matter because I'm not. So here's an example of what applies to at least one representative, and I would suspect more than one. Let me pull this up real quick here. Hey, what's happening, Marksman TV? Looking forward to seeing you here in about a week, I guess. Yeah. By the way, guys, I'm heading down south to try to spread the word of the Second Amendment, and I will be hanging out with Marksman TV and not too long from now. So nice to see you, man. All right. Let me remove this. Do you guys see the vote? It says this is all public, accessible information. Okay. It's also my community post. If you guys want to see who voted for what, I'm going to tell you in a few minutes what I encourage you all to do when it comes to people that voted yes for this, that you think could maybe fix this problem or do a little bit better next time, right? Or do a lot better next time. That's cool, Chris. Shout out to the Marksman TV channel, by the way. Oh, I still have this share. That's why I can't. Hold on a minute. Stop sharing. I'm trying to share something with you guys, and I'm already sharing something else. I thought I clicked stop share. Okay, here's what State Representative Brad Paquette said. If you looked at that picture I just showed you, Brad Paquette voted for this. He came out with a post later that night, the 25th, and said, I made a significant error voting tonight. A supplemental budget was put forward, which replenished $125 million for a school safety line and education funding due to the majority partly cutting it during the budget season. I supported this funding. But I voted for this overlooking that there is $1 million put forward that also creates a, quote, tip line in Section 97H that allows, quote, anonymous reporting of improperly stored firearms. This opens the door for violation of constitutional rights. I would add constitutionally protected rights is how I like to word it, because the Constitution doesn't grant rights, but it is supposed to be there to protect your natural rights. But I will keep reading what he actually typed. And although my vote was not the deciding one, my yes vote is entirely on me. It is a significant mistake, and I apologize wholeheartedly to my constituents for this serious error. So there's at least one representative, but I suspect more than one, that are like, look, I was all for adding $125 million into the budget for these school resource officers, mental health, nurses, all this, right? But I didn't know that was in there. Now, let me just address that on its face, because I know how this went down. There was 29 bills literally rifled through. Literally just rifled right through with no time at all. Is it possible that each and every representative, because keep in mind, there could be, didn't have time to read the whole thing. Yes, it's actually possible. I'm going to get to that in a minute, though. And that's still not an excuse to vote yes. There's no excuse to vote yes. I'm not making any excuses tonight for anybody voting yes on this bill whatsoever. I'm just telling you that, yes, on its face, it is possible. Okay? One more time, not saying it's okay. It's not an excuse. But it is definitely very probable that when you have 29 bills that are up for vote, that you're not going to have time to read them all. Let's just be honest. It's impossible that you could possibly read them all. Now, tell me our government isn't literally screwed up where they would even be in a position where you wouldn't have time to read them all due to the way certain committees are suspended and foregone, public comments, testimonies are all just completely thrown out the window. Like, it's insane that we even have to be in a society where people are even trying to figure out stuff to vote on with that little time. It's completely BS. And these problems are systemic, and these problems are deep, and these problems are long. Now, with that said, it's true. Still no excuse in my opinion, because here's the rule that I wish all legislators would adopt. If you don't have time to read everything in the bill, then don't vote on the bill. Now, that's a tough vote, but look, this is a tough job, and there's consequences either way, no matter what you do. Keep in mind, if anybody votes no on this bill, I'm going to tell you both sides of the story. I'm not telling you which side to pick. You can choose my side. You can choose another side. My side is, I don't care. I wanted everybody to vote no on this bill. One more time. But I'm just telling you the other side of things, because this is true. What you'd have to deal with if you voted no on this bill is your Democrat opponent would come out there. The Democrats have way more money in the coffers than Republicans generally. Not a little bit more, but a lot more in almost all cases. I'm being serious. This is on the federal level. This is on the state level, especially here in Michigan. You're going to get blasted with ads 24/7 saying, Representative, since we're talking about him, Paquette, does not want to protect your children in school. He doesn't value mental health for your children. He doesn't mind if a crazy school shooter comes into the school. He doesn't want anyone there to stop it. He wants all your kids to die. Think I'm joking? I'm not. The other side will hit it from that angle, and they'll hit it that hard. Okay. Now, it comes down to another thing. Should you take a vote to get reelected? Well, with certain votes, absolutely, actually. Not votes like this, though. When it comes to the Second Amendment, your natural God-given rights, anything in the Bill of Rights, also enshrined in Michigan Article 1, Section 6, you should never wheel and deal. You should never work with anybody or come up with a compromise whenever it compromises the free exercise of a natural God-given right. Never. If it means you don't get reelected, hey, that sucks. You didn't get reelected, but you sure as heck went out defending that oath that you took. Now, when I say there's certain things you could compromise on, sure, I guess. Nothing to do with rights, though. Nothing to do with the government's protection of your natural rights. I don't know. Let me think here. If somebody said, well, look, I think that we should have, and I'm just making up this number, I think we should have $1 million going for the school counselors and $500,000 going to the school nurse. And then another reasonable person comes in and debates. It doesn't necessarily matter what party they're in this case, and says, no, I'm actually, a nurse by trade. I know a little bit more about this. I think actually we'd be better served if we had $750,000 budgeted for the school nurses, and $750,000 for the school counselor. Maybe you could come together back and forth and be like, oh, wait, you're right. Okay, that's fine. Maybe it doesn't really cost any more money to have a school counselor than a school nurse. That's a real small example, okay, of stuff that somebody could sit there and kind of, all right, I'll defer to your expertise on this, or I'll maybe make a trade. I mean, stuff like that, I don't know. It might have been a bad example, but I think you guys know what I mean. Everybody just doesn't go in there as a genius and know everything about everything. However, to know the Second Amendment shall not be infringed, being necessary to the security of a free state. Now, I think there's some people that also thought, so some people just didn't know it was in there at all. All right. Okay. I also think there was people that knew there was a little something going on with this, but didn't know exactly what it was. Now, some reps are saying that they do know exactly what this is, and I'm not sure if they're correct or not, because this is very ambiguous. This does say in here, like, I'm just being dead serious. I'm not saying, like, maybe this is okay. No, this is not okay. Okay, I wish everybody would have voted no one more time. But there is some ambiguity in here where it says, like, to create or partner with an existing program and support a tip line for students to anonymously report improperly stored firearms. Now, here's a little more background story. Michigan apparently, and I just learned about this, has long had a tip line where if there's something, I'm going to paraphrase this very grossly. I don't really understand it exactly. I was just made aware this has existed in this state for a long time. There's a tip line where if somebody within the school has reason to believe, that there's about to be like a school shooter, there's a tip line where they can call that in and hopefully alert people in time to stop it. I don't know much more about it than that. It's taken me forever just to research how we got here with this gun control. Not necessarily a gun control tip line at all, from what I understand. Although I'm kind of just like leery of any tip line in a way because it's rife for abuse. And I think this is rife for abuse. But there was supposedly already a tip line that's existed a long time to try to stop like some potential violence in the school. Okay. Now, that notwithstanding, I just don't really like tip lines. One might argue, I'm not saying it would compel me to agree with them or not, but somebody might argue, well, that's not gun control. That's a student saying, hey, I just heard old Timmy in the bathroom saying he's about to shoot up the joint. And they want to call without fear of, if Timmy found out it was them, okay. That's what I was told, that there's been something like this in Michigan for a long time. And it's my understanding that some of the representatives thought that this was adding funding to that, and it wasn't creating this whole thing of how firearms are properly or improperly stored. Again, though, look, the Democrats are genius. If you don't know exactly what's in the bill, in my opinion, you shouldn't vote on it. But there's no free lunch with that, although that is how I believe, okay? There's no free lunch with that at all. Because you will literally get roasted by the other side. No matter what. If you vote no on a bill, that the marketing for the bill was that this is going to put school resource officers in the school. It's going to fund mental health aspects of the school. Okay. So I think it's disgusting, and it's a bunch of crap that we even have a situation where you literally have a vote where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Can any of you think to yourself, or you should be in a situation, and some of you may have different feelings on this, but let's just assume for argument's sake, because I know some of you think it's a good idea, right, to have a school resource officer within that school. Some of you might think it's okay to have mental health help within the school. And if you think that's a good thing, do you think it should have to be to have mental health help for the children? You have to have that along with gun control. But if you don't want the gun control, you don't get any mental health help or school resource officer. That's a terrible bill to have put forth at all. It's called a poison pill. It's called to make it where if you vote for the bill, the 2A community tears you apart. Okay? If you don't vote for the bill, literally, but everybody else tears you apart. Because everybody else isn't going to say, hey, look, this person really voted no because we put in draconian Maoist cultural revolution style tip line gun control that's rife for abuse, by the way. Could you imagine the concept of a rebellious teenager saying, you'll let me stay out past curfew tonight or else I'm going to call the tip line? Think about that. Give me the keys to the car, darling. You're in trouble. You're grounded. You're whatever. Not so fast. I'm calling the tip line. Now, I've talked to some reps that thought, and I'm not telling you guys I'm excusing any of this. One more time. No vote was the acceptable way to vote on this bill, in my opinion. I think from just kind of glancing at the chat, and almost all of your opinions too, certainly. I just haven't had time to read every chat. That's why I say almost all, because there's always somebody that might, disagree, whatever. But look, so some of them are going to say, we thought it was to fund this different tip line. And it was only after the fact that we found out what happened here. 29 bills, a couple hours to no way you can even think about reading all of them. Crazy stuff. Now, there are some reps that are going to tell you, look, it was a terrible, tough vote, but they prioritized and said, look, I'd rather have the school resource officers, the mental health professionals, counselors, whatever, the school nurse. All of this stuff's getting funded through this, different aspects of it, right? Many other things, by the way, too. I talked to reps that literally kind of said this. But I guess I have to vote for it, even though I hate my yes vote, is what I've been told by several reps. I hate my yes vote, but I have to vote for it because we can't just not fund the safety within our schools. Now, why do we even have a bill, though, that's omnibus like this? They can have these completely different subject matters with gun control sprinkled in with something. I mean, this is just ridiculous that we're even here. Now, me saying it's ridiculous that we're here isn't giving any of these reps a pass on their yes vote. No, but it's still, though, okay? They took the wrong vote, in my opinion, but also concurrently at the same time, why are we the people even allowing such a dog and pony show to be going on in the state capitol where you're mixing this kind of crap in with like... See, you only hear about the really sad, tragic horror stories of when bad things happen. You don't hear about the loving school counselor. Because look, they're not all bad. I know there's, in many people's opinion, too many SSRIs given out. A lot of people just don't trust doctors. Look, people are so pissed off in this country. A lot of people just hate everything, okay? I don't like that, and I hope you guys don't think that way, but I understand it in a way. But look, I know for a fact there's been a loving school counselor somewhere, not just somewhere, but probably every day, that's talking a kid through some issues at the school. And if they didn't talk them through that, they might do something violent and heinous. And I think mental health is very, very important in this country and in the state of Michigan. And I think it's possible for somebody to say to ourselves, we can't just not fund any of the school safety. So they hyper-focus on that and they make a trade-off and say, well, I hate that I have to vote yes, but I still have to. I think there's some reps that are going to fall under that category, to be honest with you, too. I've heard things such as this. Well, this is only for 1 year, people will say. Well, I don't want this for even 1 minute. But to accurately report on this is for 1 year. Now, next year it could be. If I had to guess, probably will be brought up again next year. Okay? If we have the same power balance that we do right now. And they may or may not, because it just depends. It's a very dynamic situation right now, very fluid. We're in the middle of a superheated election. I've been told by a multitude of Republicans in the House that if the Republicans take back the majority, they can guarantee 100% that something like this won't be attached as a rider, to poison pill, providing health and safety resources within the school. Okay. Every Democrat that's in right now, well, clearly wants this in there because it's the Democrats that wrote this bill and put it in there. See? You guys have to think about this stuff. See, it's real easy just to say, and this would be great if it was just easy. A bunch of Republicans voted for this, so that means the Democrat Party must be better on the Second Amendment, one might think. No, because all Democrats voted for this bill, every last one. They voted for all of the underlying gun control bills, including the so-called safe storage bill last year, that this is now promulgated off of, obviously. What do you guys think? I actually think that there are Second Amendment defending and Second Amendment supporting reps that actually voted for this bill. That might sound impossible to rationalize, but I truly believe so. Now, did they make an error by voting for this bill? In my opinion, actually, yes. There's a couple major things wrong here. First and foremost, that there would be a tip line created. Now, people have also told me this doesn't really have any teeth. What the heck are they really going to do about it? A cop can't just come to your house because of a tip like this. Okay. Hopefully that's true, but I don't know, because I don't trust the bureaucracy and I don't trust the people in charge of this bureaucracy, like the governor. You've heard our attorney general, our secretary of state. I mean, the rhetoric. Whew. Trying to scare people. They've done a lot of this stuff. Some of this stuff where it's kind of ambiguous, where it's going to be up to some type of bureaucracy to decide exactly whether this creates something new altogether or whether it partners with an existing program. Again, a lot of the reps thought ahead of time, yeah, there's something in here about a tip line. Well, that just funds an existing program we already have. I don't know. Is this just going to be added to an existing program they already have? Is it going to be entirely new? Well, we just don't know right now, because it says create or partner with an existing program. Right? Let me ask you guys a question and see what you guys think about this, because I've been thinking about this a lot. Is it possible that somebody voted for this bill, okay, and they still believe in supporting the Second Amendment as much as you do? That's my question. You can just answer that, like yes or no. Now, if I just ask the question that way, I'm sure most of the answer can be no, that's not possible. Somebody could vote for gun control. That's the easy answer, and that's fine. All right, one person answered the question. Great. Appreciate all the participation, guys. They said no. Okay, fair enough. Now, what if I word the question that's a little bit differently, and I'm not changing it. I'm just telling you what actually happened. Is it possible that somebody's just as pro Second Amendment defending as you are, voted for this, not because they support this page at all, okay, but because they either A, didn't have time to read the bill, which nobody really had time to read all of it, or B, they relied on information they were given from within the caucus, from within the leadership, that told them, yeah, that's no big deal. Don't worry about it. It doesn't have any teeth. It's something we already have anyways. There's really nothing in there to worry about too much, and nobody even told them about it at all. Does your answer change? I'm not telling you it should change or not, but what if somebody voted for the school aid package, okay, that would provide school resource officers, mental health, school nurse, all these different things that a lot of people support? I mean, statistically, a lot of people do anyways. And they did not know that there would be a tip line for students to anonymously report improperly stored firearms that are accessible to a minor. Okay. Okay. I'm just reading the chat real quick if you guys are one of you guys read. Okay, still no, still no, still no. Okay. Somebody said I will not comply. That's interesting. And I love the I will not comply sentiment a lot. This isn't really germane to this though, because this isn't a matter of like whether you'll comply to whether someone anonymously has a tip line on you. However, it still is germane, because if there were to be, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, okay? From what I'm being told, it probably won't happen. I hope it doesn't. If somebody comes to the home because of an anonymous tip, I would suggest saying nothing to anybody. Nothing to anybody whatsoever without a lawyer presence, or if upon probable cause there's been a duly issued warrant by a judge. If somebody has a warrant from a judge, that's different. You don't comply then, that could end up going Randy Weaver style and maybe not so good for you in the end. Okay. A warrant's a warrant. Just because there's a warrant doesn't mean you're guilty. I'll live to fight another day. But if there's no warrant, I'm not giving legal advice, but I think most good lawyers would say, yeah, probably don't talk to anyone who's at your door talking about some kind of anonymous tip. Move on, and I don't answer questions. No, thank you. Or just simply shake your head and, whatever it is you do. No legal advice. So I don't know what's going to promulgate off of this, but it really, really sucks. So this brings me to, I wouldn't say anything to anybody. Even opening the door is probably a bad idea in many cases. Yeah, don't even open the door. Somebody just said, sure. Again, I'm not a lawyer, whatever. You guys may all be lawyers in the chat. And if that's the case, good. But yeah, just, I don't know. It's up to you how you choose to comply or not comply. If there is any type of, I don't know who it would be. If it'd be like the school resource officer, if it'd be a cop. But I'm not convinced that a cop would come to your door for this or not. And I certainly hope that's not what happened. But this looks like a slippery slope. And it's the possibility of, look, I was telling someone earlier on the phone, it's like, look, dude, like even if your name was just on a list that was put on a cubicle wall with a thumbtack, okay? Thumbtack. That had your name on a list just sitting in some low-level bureaucrat's office. That's not acceptable either. Just like being on their radar, like that's not acceptable to be like even consider like a shadow criminal or whatever they would call you. Because they say, or some anonymous person said that according to their indoctrination, educational material from the state of Michigan, that you weren't storing your firearms okay. Like, I'm not cool with that whatsoever. Like, not at all. But yeah. Let me take a quick peek at the old chat here. Chanzig with the super chat and a channel member. Thank you. I appreciate it. He says, thank you. Thanks forever. Bringing news that actually matters. Well, you're welcome. And I'm glad I'm trying to talk about like how we got here. Now I'm going to roll into what I told my state representative, Jamie Thompson, who did vote yes for this, whose vote I completely and utterly condemn for this. I'll tell you a little bit about the conversation we had, summarize some conversations I had with others, and see what we can do to try to fix this. Because this does need fixed, and I'm not okay with this just becoming part of the status quo and being left to languish. And from what I understand, we have a good many representatives that are actually not okay with this being in there either. And maybe there's a plan to get rid of this. And I will get to that in just a minute here. Patrick follows with another super chat. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Are you okay with the hurricane, by the way? How are you guys doing down south and around the ocean there? From what I understand, bad hurricane, tropical storm, depending where you're at. Hope you guys are okay. Patrick Fellers says, and thank you again, man. He says, what bothers me about much of this legislation in Michigan is that the Midwest is in many ways a symbol of America. Yeah, I know. It contains a mixture of American values that these politicians are trying to destroy. I will tell you this, man. I'm not really in with any political party generally, right? Like, I'll find some good ones, and the ones that, are doing the right thing in most cases tend to be Republican more than Democrat. But man, the RNC on the federal level, like, virtually completely erased, except for like a teeny this much, erased the Second Amendment out of their platform, Man, like, here's how excited I am about the Republican Party right now. You know what I mean? sure giving me reasons to really get excited about things. Removing the Second Amendment from the platform, like pretty much entirely. Now, I'm not saying that every Republican that's in office has removed the Second Amendment from their platform. I'm just saying, like, the official, the RNC, you guys know what I mean. It's like, wow. But with that said, the way the Democrats are running Michigan since they've taken charge is literally insane. Like, literally insane. America the Free with a generous $20 super chat. Thanks so much, man. And a channel member. Longtime channel supporter. Thank you, sir. He says, God bless you and your family, brother. 28EDU. Well, thank you. And God bless your family, too. I hope you guys are okay. I mean, it is rough in the Senate and the House of Michigan. Like, rough isn't even an understatement. It's literally insane the way people do things. Okay, so here's the deal. My state representative, Jamie Thompson. Good friend of mine, very close to her. I consider her a good friend, and I still do. I still do. Talked to her for about an hour yesterday. Talked to her again for at least 30 minutes today. She talked about the way things are, the way things came to be, and I hope I'm not misparaphrasing this, and this is not me giving a public statement on her behalf. I don't work for her campaign. I'm not her publicist. But I will give her a lot of credit first and foremost, because when I called her about this issue, she took the call. And not only took the call, but spent ample time to not just give me like some quick 30-second pitch or whatever you might expect a politician to do, but to actually talk about this. She is literally sick over what happened with this vote. She voted yes for what she thought was funding school safety resources. I know that's been a high priority of hers from the beginning. Don't believe me? Go watch a video from my channel from last year. Okay? And her and Rochelle Smith, which Rochelle voted no on the bill and Jamie voted yes. They stood and said, we don't need a gun ban here. We don't need metal detectors and a gun ban at our Michigan state capitol. We need to take this money because, look, like, people should be allowed to be armed in the state capitol. We need to put that money into our schools to protect our students. And this is on my channel. You guys can go watch it. Her top priorities when she ran for representative about 2 years ago, she's a freshman. This is her very first term. I'm not giving her pass on her vote, but I am going to tell you guys why I'm still going to support her. Her priorities have been defending the Second Amendment, protecting families, protecting children, including the unborn. And here's the thing, guys. While her vote was completely unacceptable, and I condemn her vote and I disagree with her vote, and I've told her that. It's pretty late. She's probably in bed by now, but if she's watching now, I'm telling her right now, live. Same thing that I told her when it was just me and her on the phone. But I believe her that she didn't know that this exact language was in this bill. And I know that the Republicans have been fighting tooth and nail with the Democrats to get some of that school safety money back that they had taken out. Now, I think the Republicans made a lousy deal, guys. They settled for less than half the money and wound up with a, I guess in many cases, hidden, okay, a piece of gun control, weird tip line, Chairman Mao Zedong style, like just gives me the chills thinking about a tip line like this. That got bottled in as well. And here's my honest opinion, guys. Yes, I am 100% shall not be infringed. No questions asked. I do not care how beautiful every last paragraph of a 1,000-page bill is. If it has one sentence of gun control, the whole bill's off limit. That's my beliefs. And while it would affect the way I think about things, it truly would, I understand the results doesn't make any difference at all. But to me, it does make a difference, and here's why. If I truly thought that Jamie Thompson was after the Second Amendment, there wouldn't be much hope for her in my eyes. Really. Like, if you're against the Second Amendment, how could you even deserve to be allowed to live in this country? But I don't believe that. And I actually do believe it's the opposite of that. Do I believe she erred and took a bad vote? Yes, actually. But I believe that I've sinned today, and probably more than once today. And I believe that I've sinned every day I've been alive. And I believe if somebody as omnipresent as God can forgive me for messing up and doing something stupid. Look, I mess up sometimes with guys when I'm not thorough enough. I do. And yeah, I know, Jamie's a state rep and I'm not. And some people could say, well, the mistakes she makes are more important than the mistakes you make. Maybe, maybe not, actually. I've made some pretty big mistakes before, and I'm sure all of you have too. And if somebody's going against the Second Amendment, that's not just a mistake, that's hating your country. I do not believe that people like Jamie Thompson, Bob Bazat, Mike Harris, you can go through the list of people that I do not believe. I believe those people took bad votes. Okay? And I do condemn their vote completely and utterly with no qualifiers. However, I do not believe that they voted against the Second Amendment in a willing, knowing, whatever type of way. And who the hell would I be if I'm just so omnipresent and high and mighty? I would have to be more omnipresent than God himself, if you think about it. I know all of you guys aren't the same religion, but I know all of you probably, I hope, believe in some type of creator. But whatever you believe is your omnipresent. Could you imagine being so much more powerful than your God, that your God can forgive you every time you mess up? But you can't give somebody a chance when they mess up? Now, here's the thing. I don't believe that just if you mess up, God forgives you. I believe you have to make it right. And I believe when it comes to God, you actually have to ask for forgiveness. Now, Jamie doesn't need to ask me for forgiveness, and she doesn't, and of course she wouldn't do that. My analogy isn't 100% on this, but this is how I thought about it. I thought about it, and I prayed about it. I went to bed last night, and I woke up feeling the same way. I said, all right, Jamie, still like you. I still think you've been fighting harder than any state rep I've ever even seen for so many good issues. Somehow, the way it ended up on the board, you did end up voting for a school aid budget that had gun control in it, not acceptable. And I said, well, here's what we can do. I can just get real mad. I could go vote for her opponent, the Democrat, which is guaranteeing that they're going to pass every gun control there is. They're going to tell you right now, I want to pass every gun control there is. And they're going to keep putting us in this darn situation where nobody reads the bill. Nobody knows what's in it. It's completely and utterly insane. I said, well, you know what? Now, look, this is different. If she truly came after the Second Amendment and said, yeah, you know what, 2A EDU, I think I am for the assault weapons ban. Say she were to say something like that. I'm like, oh, no. Vote for something like that? No, just remember, this is not me providing an excuse for the vote. I'm really not. This is saying this was part of a school aid package that they have been fighting tooth and nail to try to protect children in schools. Okay? Very important to many people, maybe to some of you. And they truly thought that, hey, this sucks that we're only getting half the money that they stole back into the schools again, but that's what we're doing. Now, I think there were several failures that happened. I think there was a failure in leadership. The leadership in the caucus room should collectively know, and the staff at large should know every last word that's in this. And they should say, just so you understand, there's poison pill 97H. Maybe some people have that conversation with each other privately. I don't know for sure. I can't speak for everybody. But from what I understand, this was not brought up as, guys, warning, warning, warning. You guys need to, if you're a Second Amendment supporter, you need to vote against this. From what I understand, that didn't happen like you'd think it would. I think it's interesting that there wasn't a robust enough Second Amendment caucus presence where you would think, the leader of the 2A caucus voted no on this. I'm happy with his vote, but I don't know that the 2A caucus leader was running around whipping votes in the caucus room saying, guys, there's gun control in there, right? I'm not certain that happened either. In fact, I'm not saying this demonstrably true because I'm not allowed in that room, but I'm pretty sure that didn't happen, actually. You know what I think is interesting, too, that's crazy about all this? I think it's crazy that right while they're taking votes live for any type of union issue, environmental issue, nurses, medical technicians, those people actually come into the lobby and they actually lobby the representatives and they literally tell them, this is in this bill, and if you vote this way, you don't have our support anymore, okay? And sometimes they bring it to legislators' attention. Oh, that's what they're up to. Thanks for telling me. I agree with you. I don't want to vote for that. Or they might say, no, I don't agree with your particular cause, and I'm going to vote, for the Constitution or whatever the way it is. There's none of that. Are you kidding me with the 2A? You know what I mean? There's nobody in there reading all of these pages and literally standing out in the lobby where they can pass a note. Look, a lot of you guys just find this subject interesting because you don't live in Michigan, but this is just interesting, period, because it is. It's literally crazy, but it's interesting, right? Let's just say it this way. Were any of you, and I wasn't there that day. I've been there before. Probably more than most people I know. Were any of you there that day in the lobby? And I'm actually being serious now. Hold on a minute. Anyone that lives in Michigan that's really pissed off and can't find it in their heart or in their logic, or however you think, to give Jamie Thompson and a few others that I think are good people a chance to fix this. Because that's what I'm trying to work on. I think there is a way to possibly fix this soon. But look, how many of you that live in Michigan were standing in the lobby? What's happening, Rick? How you doing? We're standing in the lobby with your laptop where they said, House Bill 5503. Huh? It's up for vote. Now, if you don't know this, I'm here to tell you this is how it actually works. You could be sitting in that lobby. Okay, or in the gallery, and you could be looking up that bill, and you yourself could read every last word of it, and then you can walk right up to the sergeant at arms on a piece of paper, write a note. There's a chart that shows the seating chart for all of the representatives, and you would say, all right, my representative sits in seat number 16. You write down 16, and you write the note to your rep, whoever your rep may be. Let's say your rep was Bob Bazat. Bob, warning, warning, warning. Flip to section 97H. I know you want to protect the kids in the schools, Bob. I know being a longtime sheriff, Bob, in his case, you support the school resource officers. But, Bob, I'm here to warn you, and I just read the bill that you didn't have time to read, but I read it. It flipped to 97H, poison, poison, poison. Any darn citizen in the state of Michigan could have been standing there doing that. Does anyone care to opine on this topic? Think about it. If we want a government that's of the people, by the people, and for the people, when we know that there's so much cunning and just so much trickery and tomfoolery going on with the way the Democrats are running this current session, I guess we should just be as damned as any politician if we're not literally standing there, like right there. So here's what I told my representative. I said, Jamie, I like a lot about you. I like almost everything about what you're doing. I don't like this. I said, now here's something that I'm going to ask. Here's what my request is. And I think I was even a little more assertive than that. I think I said, well, here's my demand as a constituent, right? I said, I need you to fix this. Can you fix this? And she said, I'll do anything I can to fix this. You know, that's a decent start, actually. It really is. That's more than a decent start. Like, making a mistake sucks, but, like, if you acknowledge, like, this is bad, that this ended up happening, that this was lumped within it, right? And you're like, yes, I actually want to fix this. She's a freshman. She's not a career politician. She didn't come from, like, smaller politics and move her way up. She went from being a nurse, okay, now also slash, you know, grandmother, raising within the house. Her and my good friend Ron. The children, beautiful children, by the way. Really nice kids, nice looking kids, you know. Beautiful family they have of their recently deceased daughter. All right. She just went from that right into being state rep. Okay. Just understanding the process, like, what's a conference report? Like, man alive, guys. I've been involved in this stuff for decades, actually. I mean, I could talk about when Randy Richardville was my state representative. I could talk about when Randy Richardville was the leader of the Michigan Senate when the Republicans were in control. You guys are like, who is that? Yeah, I've been around that long. Heck, I remember talking to Spencer Abraham when he was the last Republican United States Senator in 2001. Now, although I've never worked, like, on the inside, I've never worked for any politician at all. Just been a citizen advocate, which is what I am right now. But I've been involved in this stuff and, like, keeping track of the intricacies of it for decades. And I still don't understand how a lot of these procedures and stuff work. Is it okay that Jamie and many other people who I think are actually good people, and I do think that they in their heart, and I do think that they do support the Second Amendment, as far as their other votes, if you look, were against any and all gun control bills, even against budgets that contain gun control in them in the past. For those of you guys that keep saying in the chat, if there are any, and I suspect there could be, and I will read it afterwards, okay? They keep saying there's just no excuse. There's just no excuse. There's just no excuse. Have you guys ever made a mistake before? Because I'll tell you right now, if Jesus was on the ballot, that's who would have my vote. You know, you look at these two political parties, okay? You have this donkey, this jackass, and you have this elephant. You know what I mean? A lot of that's starting to become noise to me now. The Republican Party generally has let me down so many times, and the Democrat Party is like 100% letting me down in virtually anything I can possibly think of, almost in all cases. I don't know, man. Like, I've never had faith in a donkey or in a. Some people say, well, in some cases, it's not really that it's an elephant, it's a rhino. I understand all that too. But no, my faith is in the Lamb. If Jesus was running for state representative or for president or running for anything, who I believe that's the only good judge that there is at all, like, of course that's who would have my vote. And I think that the afterlife and eternity is actually much more important than this trial. It's nothing but a vapor. It appeareth, vanisheth away. And that's why we're here right now. And we're supposed to fight the good fight while we're here. Jesus is on the ballot for all of us, in my opinion. And whatever you believe in, that's your ballot. That's your ballot that you're going to cast for your eternity. But while we're here on earth, while we're here in the state of Michigan, Jesus ain't on the ballot. Now, we've had politicians that have extremely against the Second Amendment, against everything. They just hate this country. They vote for gun control. They voted again. They brag about it. They encourage it. They ask for it. Okay. Those people, look, I'm not going to judge their soul, but here on earth, here in their public service, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of redemption for them, does it? Now, if somebody comes out and says, hey, I screwed up, and then just keep doing it over and over and over again, then that starts to become a totally different story too. So I said, Jamie, I don't like how you voted. It's true. I don't, and I told her that. I said, however, I said, will you try your hardest? Will you do what you have to do to fix it? She said, I will. And then she said, I'm a freshman legislator. I'm paraphrasing. These aren't our exact quotes. I'm paraphrasing. But she says, I'll have to figure out the way to do that. Now, that doesn't mean she has to figure out where her head's at with the matter. She wants to fix this. This is like super complicated behind the scenes. How could you come in and... Okay. I talked to Mike Harris. Had a really good conversation with him. Representative Mike Harris. And I said, disagree with your vote. Yet again. And I said, here's what I'm going to urge you to do. Here's what I want from you. You know? Well, I disagree. Okay. What do you want? I said, here's what I want. I want this to be fixed. Is there a way to fix this? He said, I think there is. But I'll have to check in the technicalities of how you can, maybe strike this from this and this from that. Which, okay, that's just literally like, yes, I want to. How do I do it? It's kind of like, I want to put this entertainment center together. You can fumble around and maybe break a piece. Maybe some of you use the manual. Maybe some of you don't. But in this case, you kind of have to use the manual because there's certain like parliamentarian rules and certain rules of procedure. Some things you can, some things you can't. All right. So I'm talking to him about it. Again, I like Mike. I think he's a good dude. I think he made a mistake, though, on this vote. And I'm not sticking up for anybody's vote on this. I don't like their votes on this. But these are people that haven't, given me reason to believe that are terrible people otherwise. Like, it's not a good thing to, like, make a mistake and maybe, like, take the wrong person's word for what's in a bill or maybe vote for something that looks like to you that it's what all your constituents want, but then there's something buried in. Like, I know everybody's going to say all day, like, at least, on our side, Second Amendment absolutists, they're going to say, no, it doesn't matter why. It's all the same. Well, if somebody makes a repetitious pattern of it, yes. if somebody's called out on it, I remember this, for example. You want to know what's crazy? Let me go on. Let me digress for just a minute, if you don't mind. And if you do, you'll get over it. I'm going to digress anyways. I've had people that are like, look, and I'm just going to tell you this, just so you guys can literally have a lesson in what's like complete and utter irony. I'm not telling you what you have to think about either of these. Okay? Because most people that I know in the Second Amendment community don't even think anymore. They just whatever and nothing happens. And this is why we're in the shape we're in. If you want to know the truth, I think I'm part of one of the lousiest communities in this whole state, if you guys want to know the honest truth. And I'm not calling any of you guys out. I'm calling myself out. I think the 2A community is one of the most worthless, know nothing, gets nothing done, doesn't even bother to pick up the dang phone or go to a rally or do anything community that there is. The waitresses are 100 times more powerful than the 2A community in this state. And for those of you that I'm not talking about, you know I'm not talking about you. But I bet you can think of about 100 other gun owners besides you that I'm talking about. Look, this so-called Second Amendment community is the most worthless thing ever. And I would laugh at us getting what we deserve if it wasn't for the fact that it's so darn sad. You want to know that? That's how I really feel about it. There's 10 million gun owners that aren't even registered to vote. They don't vote. They don't rally. They don't call. They don't talk about it. They hide in their hole like a bunch of chicken shits. Meanwhile, you've got waitresses getting out there rough and rowdy, and they are changing legislation. And waitresses matter more in this state than the Second Amendment. Why? Because you have to act like you matter before you matter. And I'm the one right out in front here, vocally advocating for the Second Amendment in the state of Michigan. Not as much as some people, but more than a lot. And I'm stupider than every last one of you, trust me. So don't think that I'm picking on you or you or you. You know, as the old saying goes, sometimes you throw a rock into a pack of dogs, and the one that barks is the one you hit. But the point is this. We complain. I know a lot of you guys don't live in Michigan. I'm sure you guys are at your state capital every day, and I'm glad you are. I think I saw Crazy Heathen out of the corner of my eye. He's been at the Capitol and many other places, probably more times than I have. I see my friend Jane Locke. She's been at the Capitol in many places. I would say certainly and probably more times than I have. If you guys are shaking your head being like, he ain't talking about me, well, then obviously I'm not talking about you guys. But this worthless ass Second Amendment community is actually why we're in the shape we're in. If you want to know the honest truth. Because you know what's interesting about this? Like when I told you guys I spent a lot of time on this, yeah, I condemn Jamie Thompson's vote, okay? I do. I condemn every last one of their vote. Still consider her a good friend of mine, and I will never apologize to anybody for that, actually. But I'm going to work with her as hard as I can to execute a plan to get this turned around. They better turn this around. If they don't, hey, my opinion may evolve on all of this. I hope it doesn't, though. But look, you guys are going to fix this crap. And I think that there's some of them and many of them that are eager to. But here's the thing. I've been, I don't want to say access to. How do I word this? I'm aware of internal polling that's going around in the state of Michigan, including in some of the swing districts. Now, when I sit there and beat my chest to these state reps and say the Second Amendment's a do or die issue in Michigan, some of them say absolutely. You know what some of them say? No, it's not. And this is even some Republicans that say this. No, it's not. Like, Second Amendment polls like 6th or 7th most important issue in the state. I'm like, well, hold on a minute. How could that be possible? I think I know why. I think there's a lot of gun owners and stuff that would trade the Second Amendment for something else that would give them like a little bit of welfare benefit or whatever it is that they're into. You know. Or a lot of people are so afraid to be on a list. By the way, you know what always cracks me up? Me and Mateo were talking about this recently. It cracks me up that people actually think by watching these live streams without creating an account or without logging in that you're somehow avoiding a list. Ooh, I needed some comedic relief. That's the funniest thing ever. No. The government knows what you're watching, what you're doing, what you're saying. Your social media apps know more about you than you do yourself, some people say, which is super, super scary, actually. You know, I know a lot of gun owners out there that when they're asked, on a scale of 1 to 10, where does a Second Amendment priority? They're like, oh, Second Amendment, what's that? Even though they're a diehard Second Amendment supporter, they're afraid. They don't want to be on a list. I've told people before, call your state rep. Tell them you're furious about this, or you demand they do this, or whatever your case is. You know, you're mad. Tell them you're mad. Don't threaten them, but if you want to tell them you're mad, you can. I like to have reasonable, measured conversations. I don't mean reasonable like I'm wishy-washy on my stance. I just mean like be polite enough where you're not just screaming at them, because most people don't respond very well to being screamed at. And if you want strategy and you ever want to win at anything, you probably don't just sit there and scream at them, because that's just like human nature. People reject that and they don't like that. And once they don't like you, how are you ever going to get your opinion through? But that's just my opinion and my suggestion. But I'm like, call that rep, call that center. I'm not calling them. You think I want them to know I own a gun? Well, then fine, don't call them. Because the anti-gunners, 10 of them just called while you were too scared to call. So I talked to Mike Harris. He says, I'm going to try to figure out how we can maybe fix this. Like, I want to. Let's see how we can do it. All right. I called my senator, Joe Bellino. Now, this was pretty cool. First of all, Joe voted no on the bill in the Senate. Okay. Joe voted no. He's taken some other votes on other things people didn't like. But when it's come to the Second Amendment, Joe's voted 100%. If Joe ever votes against the Second Amendment, I'll call him up and, what did you do? You know, no, disavow, don't like, disagree, whatever type of wording chooses to come out of my mouth. And he goes, I go, yeah. So he answered, well, first he texts me back. He's like, sorry, in the middle of a floor speech. And I'm like, oh, I know what floor speech means. He was in session. I didn't think he was in session. Okay. All right. He was in session because the House was not in session the day after this. And I mean, this is crazy how they're doing all this. It's literally nuts. And he's like, but he literally calls me back like 30 seconds later. He's like, all right, babe, the minority leader was doing a floor speech and he was ripping the Democrats pretty good one, you know. He goes, what's going on? Now, that's pretty responsive to a constituent. When you call your state senator and he gets up, you know, he wasn't giving the speech, but listen, he gets up and walks out into the lobby to take a call from a constituent, like right while he's in session. Yeah, that's called like somebody that actually cares about hearing from his constituents. And I've seen his cell phone when he has my name stored in there. It says like 2A right behind it. So he knows when I'm calling him, like during the daytime while he's at work, that this is some dire Second Amendment thing. So he runs right. He's like, what's going on, babe? I'm like, did you see House Bill 5503, what passed? Yeah, well, I voted no against it. Okay, I voted no. I'm like, yeah, but this tip line. And he goes, yeah, that's a tip line I think we've had through the state police for a while where it you know, something, if there's some danger within the school. Now, I had talked to Joe hours earlier. Okay? I'm just saying, guys, this is true. Now, that doesn't mean Joe was lying or anything like that. First of all, he voted no, right? But that may have been the actual part of the language of one of the versions of it he voted on, because this went to conference. See, this is not simple at all. This is super, super complicated. Okay? Not making excuses. I'm just telling you the truth. It's super complicated. Talking to Jamie later that same day. She's like, but I thought there was some existing hotline and this was funding that, and I didn't know like exactly, but I didn't know that this was this. See, she basically, her very initial thing was, what? I voted against gun control? I would never. And then she tells me what she was under the impression of, okay? And it happened to coincide, and again, I'm paraphrasing, but it happened to coincide almost identically to what the senator had told me that he had remembered voting against just like hours earlier. Like, this is how crazy this actually is. So Mike Harris calls me back a half hour later. He goes, all right, I talked to that. And I can't remember what office it is because, again, like, I've spent a lot of time around all this and I still don't understand it. It's just that much bureaucracy and craziness that goes on in a state legislature. I guarantee you it's just as crazy in most of your states. Maybe not as corrupt, but like really deep and like murky with certain areas where like hardly anyone can understand everything. They try to understand, but like it takes them a while to understand it. And everybody wants term limits, which I'm not saying I don't want term limits, okay? But with everybody wanting term limits, they can barely like get in there long enough to completely understand what's going on. Then they're term limited out and they go home. And then somebody comes in with the best of intentions that's solid on the Constitution and they don't know what's going on procedurally and their head's spinning around in circles. Right? Okay, so he got a hold of the office of whatever and put in an inquiry. I'm like, okay, this is a start because I want a solution. And then he gets back and he goes, okay, here's the deal. Now, let me back up. Senator Bellino had said, look, dude, if it helps, and this may actually help, though. This is not just empty words. He says, look, it didn't get immediate effect. That means when session ends, okay, we're talking 91 days after that. This could matter because there's an election coming up right now. If the Republicans take back the House, okay, so if the Republicans don't take back the House, they can't do anything with this at all. So, and I'm paraphrasing. I did not do an interview with any of these representatives. I just talked to them because I was trying to understand what actually happened. Okay. And a lot of BS happened in many areas. Okay. Not just the vote itself, but everything surrounding it was insane. Now, he says, all right, so if we take the majority back, because the Democrats won't do this, obviously, he says, we can come in before it takes effect. We can gut this, substitute that, and then we're going to have to send it to the Senate, which is still going to remain controlled by Democrats. The Michigan Senate is not up for re-election this year. Then we're going to have to compromise with them and give them something they want. Okay? Before, and this is this is where negotiations come into play. They're going to have to figure out a way to negotiate something to get this through. And that's our hope of being able to actually stop this. So, now, he didn't guarantee what the specifics would be. He didn't say like 100. Look, you don't say everything publicly, all right? You don't say everything you want to do publicly, okay? But you basically, if the Republicans get the majority back in the House in Michigan, if there's the will from enough representatives, okay, this would have to be Republican reps. I'm not saying all Republican reps are good on the Second Amendment, okay? Some of them have voted against the Second Amendment with the safe storage last year. Yeah, a bunch of them voted against the Second Amendment with this, but I've explained it nauseum. I'm not going to repeat myself anymore. Yeah, did vote against the Second Amendment, but probably didn't realize it for many different reasons. Okay. Now, the Republicans get the majority, and there's the willingness for them to do it. They would procedurally and technically be able to make this go away before it even goes into effect. So, here's an idea I have. If you guys have a better idea, tell me, do it. Do something better. I'd love for you to, because I just want to win with this. Pressure your state reps. Okay. There's an election coming up right now. Say, if you're elected, or if I vote to re-elect you, there could be two scenarios. You could have an incumbent Republican rep that you're like, okay, I didn't like your vote on this, but you can earn my vote back. I think that's a perfectly good way to talk to these people and to negotiate, right? Because they are just people. Remember that. Jesus and God, and for those of you that think you're God and Jesus, you're not on the ballot, and neither is Jesus. These are people. Okay? So if you talk to them like people, you can be very stern. You'll probably get a little bit more accomplished if you talk to them like they're an actual person. But say, look, all right, you did this. I don't like your vote. You're allowed to tell them that. That's okay, actually. You should tell them that. They need to be told when you disagree. Because there's a bunch of people that agree with them, too. Keep that in mind. They're being told that. Say, all right, but you can earn my vote back if you can promise to make this a priority. You get back the majority here, this winter, this fall, to go in there and gut this part out before it can ever take effect. I know for a fact there's some representatives that are open to it. I know there's some that are even more than that are eager to do what they have to do to be able to get this gutted out of the budget before it actually even goes into effect. Do you guys think that's a decent idea? I think it's a good idea. Look, when you don't want something to pass, but it does, where are you at that point? Well, if you didn't want it to pass, means you probably want it to go away. So here we are. And I think that's a strategy to do two things at once. To let the Republicans know that we're not just sleeping, that we read these bills. We know what's going on. That's a good thing to know. Okay. You can let your Democrats know too. It's just we've yet to have a Democrat side with the Second Amendment even once in years in Michigan. It's been a long time, all right? But if you think you can work on a Democrat and get them to vote in support of the Second Amendment, please do. I encourage you to. In your state or in Michigan or in anywhere, right? So I know it's more fun to complain and have solutions. I get it. I've done a lot of complaining tonight. But I do think it's good to have a solution too. And I'll leave with something that's a little bit frustrating. And I'm going to jump off in just a minute. And obviously, since I've been on for 2 hours, I'll touch on the Harris-Biden administration. Whoever's in charge, however you say their name today. I'll probably do a little supplemental stream this weekend and touch on that. Here's something that got me a little bit frustrated, okay? Do you guys mind if I vent just a minute? I had a very productive conversation and an excellent conversation about a topic that otherwise I didn't enjoy talking about with my Michigan representative, Jamie Thompson. Actually, we had a good talk. We really did. I had a good talk with several representatives, senator, and other people. Look, guys, I'm trying to make lemonade out of lemons here, all right? Because it is what it is. Like this stuff did happen and it passed. So I'm trying to think of a solution to try to get this to go away. Let me share something with you, though. If you don't mind, I'm going to share a frustration with you here. Now, this is interesting. Okay. This is the Facebook page of Michigan Michigan State Representative Matt Hall. Now, hold on a minute. This is the minority leader. One that, in my opinion, if he had a little better leadership, and if the Second Amendment Caucus in Michigan had a little better leadership and was a little more robust, could have probably, given the old down low or some pertinent information to all these members of the legislature so that everyone wouldn't be really pissed at all the Republicans right before the election and ones that are totally distraught over this vote that actually care about the Second Amendment as much as anybody. Yeah, that would have been great if there would have been, a little more. But so with that said, all right. So with that said, I wanted to leave him a comment on this Facebook post. I mean, that's something good to do, right? So this is the minority leader. Okay, this is the top Republican in the Michigan House of Representatives. 2 days ago, he goes, House Dems yanked $302 million away from school safety and student mental health. Say, told you. Today, they're giving back some funds to get positive headlines. It's not even half of what they cut. Do Democrats more about protecting their potential careers than keeping students safe? I'm like, well, hold on a minute. First of all, you voted for this, and they didn't even give you half of the $300 million. You know what I mean? And gun control was in there, hidden or otherwise. So I wanted to tell him a few things about that. Professionally, even within the terms of service of Facebook, which is very strict. I wanted to professionally tell him something about that. You know what I mean? I mean, I talked to my state representative for an hour on the topic. I talked to my state senator. You know what I mean? So I wanted to talk to the minority leader. So I said, well, I'm just going to scroll right down here and leave him a comment and talk a little bit about his vote that he took. Maybe a little bit about, in my opinion, some failed leadership on this and other things to do with this. And I wanted to do it publicly, right? So I could have discourse with fellow Michiganians and just people that happen along his official. Now, keep in mind, guys, this isn't his personal page. But I went to put on here and it says State Representative Matt Hall Limited, who can comment on this post. And since there's no comments on there, I have no choice but to assume he doesn't let anybody comment on it. I mean, I think that's fair for me to assume at this point. So that's kind of tough. See what I mean? That's kind of tough. Now, look, the leader of the Democrat Party is going to stop at nothing other than to take all your guns, every last one. Okay? It's true. It's true. Now, you come over here to the right side of the aisle, and here's dear leader here. You know what I mean? And he won't even let me or you or anybody even leave him a comment to talk about the Second Amendment. Maybe we want to critique or offer suggestions in his negotiating skills. Maybe you want to tell him he's doing a great job and that he's awesome at negotiating. Maybe you want to type in that you think you think voting against the Second Amendment is awesome. Maybe your sole purpose is to say, Representative Leader Hall, I'm so happy that you voted for this safe storage bill that even made this Mao cultural revolution turn your parents in, right? Maybe you want to compliment him on it, but probably not. But maybe you want to call him out on it. Be like, you know what, dude? You and yours, you and all the Democrats and a few others on the right side of the aisle, you guys are why we're in the shape we're in right now. But if you wanted to type any of that, you couldn't do it. Maybe you'd say, Leader Hall, I'm going to give you some consulting advice, and it's going to be absolutely free. You can say, when it comes to negotiating with the Democrats, just flip this coin. You're going to end up with better results than you have been lately. And hey, maybe that's your advice. Maybe he should follow it. Maybe not. But you can't. You can't even talk to him at all in public here on Facebook. He just pushes out the info as a one-way feed. And in my opinion, couldn't care less what you have to say about anything at all on any of his posts whatsoever. I mean, if I'm wrong, it'd be great for me to be able to type in, I think you're wrong on this. And then he could come back and be like, no, I'm right. And here's why. That maybe he convinced me. I don't know. It's just hard for me to really have any respect for somebody at all. And I have little to no respect actually for this man whatsoever, because this is the leader, the minority leader. For all the Michigan reps that are watching, don't keep wondering why you all are having a tough time getting out of the minority with leadership that doesn't even let the Second Amendment community come and give him a hard time. On his official state rep page. Are you kidding me right now? Two-way EDU page, totally different. Joe Smith's page, totally different. I'm not a public servant. You're probably not a public servant. The average person watching probably isn't. Some of you are, but here's the thing. If the Susie Smith page seems like a nice gal, I'll friend request her. If she says, I don't want to be your friend, I don't want you to see my post, that's actually fine. Okay? Private citizens have the right to some privacy where they can choose who they want to talk to or not online. But if it's state representative Susie Smith, official blue check mark or whatever page, you know what I mean? That's supposed to be where people can either agree with you or disagree with you or give you a hard time. If their comments are rising to the level of criminal, well, that's what law enforcement's for. And then appropriately, whatever, may or may not happen there. But just because people are saying stuff that you don't like, that doesn't feel like you're being represented. It feels like you're being lorded over. And I'm very frustrated with that. Because I'd like to be able to hash some of this out. Because this is leadership, keep in mind, okay? This isn't just a regular representative we have here. And I'm suspicious of, and this is all in my opinion, and it's just going to have to stay my opinion because I can't have public discourse on his official Facebook page here. But in my opinion, he could be some of the reason that some of this got to this point. That's my opinion, okay? Well, I guess we'll never know. What do you guys think about that? C&T Designs and Arms, member for 20 months. What's happening, man? And thanks for being such a longtime friend and supporter of the channel. How you doing, man? He says, I get a timeout just saying hi, WTF. Oh, I don't know, man. Anything about that tonight? It could be. Look, Susan Wiki, right? We talked about her a lot on here. She had a special place for the channel, then she died, and now I think we have the ghost of Susan Wiki. So, who knows what could have happened there. But nice to see you. Nice to see you, man, and I certainly hope you're doing good. I haven't really looked at the chat much tonight at all, except for the ones that are starred that it puts up in bright colors here, because, I don't know, I wanted to talk about quite a bit of stuff tonight. Now you guys know how crazy stuff is. Trolling politicians is free speech. Yeah, I've talked about that before, guys. Look, I think once you become a platform that's protected by Section 230, right? Now you're in with the government. Now I think you're a lot more similar to the town square or the city park than it truly is a private company. Now, I would say within that, there's several classifications, okay? A person's private page, private channel, okay? meaning not accepting government funds, meaning not elected to office, okay? Meaning we the people, the taxpayer, not their employer. I think those people have the right to ban, block, disassociate, not read, turn off comments, all they want, actually. I don't think there's any First Amendment implications there at all because people have property rights. It's kind of like someone walks up to me, starts talking to me. If I'm like, don't really like this conversation, don't want to talk to you anymore, or I don't know, your breath smells bad, or I just don't like you, bye-bye, and you leave, it's like, man, that person has just as much right to try to talk to you as you have not to talk to them. That can go back and forth. It could be more of this, less of that, but if John Q. Public wants to make it where all of his posts are private, nobody can comment on them, I'm totally fine with that. Matt Hall personally. Don't know him personally. Don't have a problem with him personally necessarily. I don't like some certain things, in my opinion, aren't going quite right in the House right now, all right? At the very least, up to and including, this guy voted for the safe storage bill outright. I mean, that's a big problem. But when it's the official state representative page or the official Congress page or the official, I don't care if it's the official township clerk page or whatever. Once it's the official page, now we are falling under the auspice of Congress shall pass no law. See what I mean? Shall pass no law, bridging a speech. Look, it's not only that you're allowed to criticize your government and the people that work there and serve and are elected and are part of it. That's especially who you should be criticizing and praising. You know what's interesting? I was talking to a representative earlier. And they said, when we busted our butts on this certain legislation to get some stuff, for one was pertaining to nurses, another was pertaining to I think medical assistants, I think it was the proper term, different categories of people. They said, when we got legislation through that they were advocating for, that they needed, that they were for those people in the district that were being represented, when we got that stuff pushed through and made a good deal for them, they actually came and thanked us, cordially thanked us and supported us. They're like, but when we all voted no, and everyone didn't vote no, but many of them voted no on all this gun control last year, nobody really thanked us at all. You did, and maybe somebody else here and there did, one or two. No one thanked us. See, in every other faction of the political world, if somebody does good, they're usually okay, you did good. In the 2A community, no one ever compliments anybody. Okay? But then when something goes bad, people literally freak out. And that's fine to freak out. I'm just saying, it's just a weird dynamic. It's a really, really weird dynamic. But I'm not surprised this is where we're at. I hope I'm wrong. I hope a lot of people call these state reps and get them to fix this and get rid of this. Okay? I hope some of my friends that are watching this that are really mad can, have it in them. And I know some of you do. Okay, I do. That you can still tell them you didn't like their vote. Now let's get on to something productive. Tell them why you don't like it. I don't mean to minimize that at all. Really let them know as much as you need to how much you didn't like their vote. Now and then move on and be but now let's be productive and see how we can make this go away. And make sure it doesn't happen again. I hope you guys can do that. My guess will probably be that a lot of people are going to be mad and stay mad, which I'm fine with that. You can be mad all you want, but probably won't really do anything at all, and then 2A EDU, you went soft because your state representative's your friend. 2A you did this. Look, guys, if it leads, it bleeds. I could have put out a 5-minute hit piece yesterday. All right. Got a bunch of views on it. Okay. Really, really riled up the base. Okay. Been considered a folk hero among some. Probably even done some fundraising while I was at it and accomplished absolutely nothing. I don't want to be no damn folk hero. I don't even believe in heroes. Not on earth. Just want to protect, defend, and preserve the Second Amendment because we barely even have any of it left. I ain't sticking up for anybody, but I'm trying to actually do stuff that matters. So, yes, I've seen it 300 times today. Jamie, Jamie, Jamie. Jamie, Jamie, Jamie. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. My favorite state representative, and she still is. She's my friend. I'm not going to apologize to anybody. That yes, she's still my friend. I still like her a lot. And I think she made a mistake. And I think that nobody's perfect. And I respect her a lot. That she took the time to talk to me about not only the what and the why and the, oh my gosh, this is terrible, to actually trying to find a solution to fix it. So that's my take on it. I will take one last look. Yeah, you can write our reps and talk to them all you want. Colin Smith, I know you've been a supporter of the channel for some time. I appreciate you helping support the channel's efforts because trust me, it is not free for me to do this. And yeah, if you think somebody messed up, but you think they're decent otherwise, try to fix the problem. If you think they're unredeemable, then go vote for their Democrat opponent. And I wish you well if that's what you have to do. You know what I mean? If someone's like, oh my gosh, I would never willingly vote for gun control. I don't know exactly how this happened. It sucks. And you just think that's not good enough, then go vote for the one that says I'm going to vote for gun control no matter what. And that might be the answer for you. Maybe the one that promises they'll vote for gun control no matter what. Maybe you'll vote for them and they'll vote for gun control and then you'll be happy because I don't know. You know, I don't know what makes some people happy. I have no idea. But I'm just trying to get to the bottom of things and see if we can come up with a solution. And we'll see what happens here. Talk to your reps and see. Just say, hey, man, I was talking. You can tell it however you want. Look, I'll leave you guys with this. Hey, 2A EDU said there might be something in the works that can repeal this if you guys get the majority. What would that look like? What can I do to help? What do I need to tell my friends? Just be honest. Just be honest. Look, if there's anybody in my district, any of my neighbors, shout out to anyone who lives nearby. Look, call up Jamie Thompson and say, look, me and about 12 of my Second Amendment supporting friends, we're not sure what we want to vote for anymore. If this is the truth, just literally do it. Say, we don't know how we want to vote anymore. What do you have to say about it, Jamie? I'm sure she talked to you, or any of these reps. Go to their coffee hours. Go to their town halls. If you like what they have to say, if you want to offer suggestions, if you want to try to help them develop a plan to fix all this stuff, then maybe you'll be good when you leave. Maybe you won't be good when you leave. I don't know. But do something. Do something and try to be productive with it, in other words. And I think you can be productive and try to move forward to what you may consider a mistake. And I hope you guys have ways to do that even much better than I do. Still awakening. I'll look into that. I know that would cost a lot of money. Okay, a lot of money. And I just don't know. Look, the left are the ones that have all of the big bankroll. There's really not a lot of grassroots people that have the millions of dollars it takes to do all that. So I hear you. I was not dismissing you. Trust me. It's a very steep hill to climb. They make it very difficult for regular people or poor people, All right, good night, guys. I will read all of the chat afterwards, and I'm sure I will find it very interesting. All right, I will see you guys on Locals and the site that rhymes with fumble tomorrow night. Make sure you head over to my Myriad Social if you want to see me shooting something pretty cool. And also, Blackout Coffee. Check the link down in the description. They have buy two, get one free cold brew. They're like the cans. I tried some of it when I was down south, and it's actually like pretty darn good. I don't really drink my coffee sweetened at all, but if you like it, with a little sugar, a little cream, go check it out. It's actually some nice ingredients, and I did try it, and it tastes very high quality. So you can check out the link down in the description. Using my link for any purchase at Blackout Coffee does help support the channel. I did put in that limited time promo code that's good for like a day or two for buy two, get one free on the pre-canned, cold brew coffee. You put 3 in the cart, the third one will end up free, basically. That's how that works. And if you don't want cold brew or you're listening to this afterwards, you can use my coupon code one time for 20% off your order site-wide. And if you're just a regular customer and you're buying stuff anyways, please take up a minute and come over to my channel. Just give it a little click in the description, and you can use my link, and you can be a financial supporter of the channel while drinking great coffee and helping support a Second Amendment supporting company. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.